Hello everyone, today I'm going to discuss about the people who lived in caves many thousands of years ago. Now you find this story in the books of history explaining that somehow the ancient people, because of the cold or some other problems, they used to live most of their time in caves. Now really on our planet there are not that many caves, and how come we are 7 billion people today from a few hundreds who lived in caves is something which doesn't match. Something is wrong here. We are not interpreting the things according with what happened in reality. Now, I have explained this in the past, the story with the global warming and global cooling. Briefly, I'm going to explain it once again. We live on a planet which follows some cycles. It comes from cold to warm to cold to warm. This is today. I have explained this that these cycles are once at every 24,000 years. The planets and the star, being the solar disk like this, they spin and pass behind the sun being in the middle, once at every 24,000 years. Today we are in this situation. 12,000 years from now we will be in this situation because the solar disk moves slowly but moves. 24,000 years from today it will be once again global warming. We have to put these cycles in the history book, and we have to explain that evolution is not linear. It's not something like many thousands of years ago or hundreds of thousands of years ago where a few people and they have increased with time until today. It was not like that. Population increases on this curve like this. When we have more agricultural land and the temperature is higher, population increases. When ice and snow cover the land, population decreases. It's very simple. Now, to explain this more in detail, we have to look what happened to the previous cycle. If today we are here and it's very hot, the question is what happened in the previous peak? This is fundamental. Because if I'm right, we should see today some traces of this increase of population, these people here. Where is their civilization? How come we cannot see it? Where are the traces of roads, of big cities, the things that we have today? Where are them? I have to think that something happened, and each time civilization reaches this peak, it doesn't mandatorily discover electric energy. That is fundamental to have the energy age we have today. Somehow, these cycles pass to the peak in the Middle Age. This is an assumption that I'm making. And they pass without discovering industry or electric energy. All their construction must have been from concrete, like the Roman Empire maximum, wood, or bricks from earth made in the oven. Somehow burned earth if you want. But these constructions deteriorate themselves. All of this construction were outside and we cannot see it anymore. Maybe this civilization had 1 billion people, but we cannot see it anymore. As the temperature dropped, people had to survive and they moved mostly in the Middle Earth. But even there, food was scarce. There was not enough for everybody, so population went down. As ice and snow covers more agricultural land, less people survive. As they enter into the winter, I have to question, maybe something happened, they all died, with the exception of people who lived in Africa. And I am not far from the truth. There is an exception here, the caves. Why people managed to live in caves? It happened because of the hot springs, mostly. In remote areas, there are hot springs. That gives heat, natural heat. You can survive around these hot springs, and they come from the earth, from caves. Living there, you leave some traces on the walls, some paintings, which we see today because they have preserved themselves. For sure, these people must have had paintings in their homes, but their homes got destroyed by the erosion, by the cold and the wind and the winter. it didn't happen in the caves. This doesn't mean that these 100, 300, 1,000 people you want to call who lived in caves are exactly the same thing which hundreds of millions of people who lived outside here. Because you don't see traces anymore of this civilization, it doesn't mean they were never there. They just died. They died because of the cold. Now, as water somehow expanded into snow and ice, and there was not so much agricultural land and food for the people, only the one in caves survived. And the people from the Middle Earth, Central Africa, Arabia, India if you want. But don't think about billions of people, not that many. Now, when you enter into winter, you know you have resources. If you know winter is coming, you make yourself resources. It's difficult to make resources for the next generations, but you can do that. The problem is exiting from winter. So these people manage to survive. The question is, what is happening with people coming outside? If few people were here surviving, less people ran out from the winter. It's always difficult to exit from the winter. You have resources until March, but if one more month of winter comes to April, if you don't have food for that month, that extra month, you die. This is how it happens. Another problem with this strange period is you somehow hide inside the caves, but your houses outside are completely covered by meters of snow and ice. They are no longer there. Not even the foundations, even if they are made from concrete. Think about it. At this scale, if we are today, Roman Empire is here, 2,000 years ago. It's not far. We can see the foundations today, only the foundations from the buildings of Roman Empire, because the concrete was very good. But can I say that this concrete without iron in it is going to survive another cycle so people from 24,000 years ago would see it? I doubt it. I am pretty sure these foundations could be completely destroyed by this cycle. The question is, our strong foundations that we have here with iron in it, our big cities, are going to be found by the next civilization? Because I am pretty sure that in this period, population will go down, and we will no longer pass to this period having electric energy, electric networks, cities, whatever that we have. We will survive, only a few, not 7 billion people. In caves, I don't know, like Eskimos if you want, there are solutions. But the foundations of this civilization, even with iron in it, are going to be completely destroyed by this period. A conclusion I would draw from here is very simple. There was not a civilization of the caves. The civilization was outside, made by millions of people, but it got destroyed by this period only. There was no special things happening to caves. Only the remainings of the people who lived in caves for a period of their lives, we have them today. But it doesn't mean that if we don't have traces of this civilization, they were never here. If people from 24,000 years in the future, they will not see the foundations of our civilization, it will have lost the concept of this civilization that we have today. In the absence of any kind of proof, it means that we were never here. And they will draw the conclusion that there were no civilization, there were no big cities or electric networks, there was nothing. People lived in caves. It's a misunderstanding. You have to see the big picture here. I know that it is a long shot, and in the absence of any archaeological proof, it's difficult to believe this kind of story. But the fact that we have this cycle, if you verify it, you will see it as a scientific fact. Although the scientists do not understand this concept very simple. You have to research it and you will see that I am right. Anyway, the conclusion is simple. I think that the cycle before our cycle passed to this peak of temperature without discovering electric energy. And the previous cycle from civilization point of view before this cycle happened the same. This leads to the conclusion that we are in a rare case today. We are in the peak of our civilization of the last 10 peaks, if you want. It's something very, very rare. We have two satellites who have left our solar system. That is something very, very rare. These people were not at this peak. But I think that from this peak where we are today, we can only go down. Whatever we have today, it's a maximum that we can achieve. Above that, it will be difficult to expand because temperature will drop and we will no longer have food for everybody. That will lead to war and a lot of other problems. We are at the top, and I don't think we can expand more than at this point. The conclusion is there was no civilization who lived in caves. It was just the people who decided to hide from the cold because of some hot springs which were near them. The civilization was outside, and you have to see the traces of this civilization between the reality of these paintings from the caves. You have to think, if there were two paintings in a cave, you have to apply a multiply effect. I think there were thousands of people outside, but only 2 or 3 decided to do a painting in the caves. Always have to apply this multiply effect if you think there are resources outside. And if there are no resources, then civilization goes to the limit. We are now at the peak, and I'm pretty sure we cannot longer expand from here. I would like to know what traces can we give to the people 24,000 years in the future. What construction can we make today that has the duration of life of 24,000 years? Our buildings last 100 years, more or less. Let's say the foundation lasts for 2,000 years like the Roman Empire. But if meanwhile civilization went down, then these people from here, at this point, 4,000 years in the future, they will no longer remember this period. And people from here, if they have rejected themselves in the caves, they will not be understood by the people in the future. Seeing the big picture is very, very difficult. What I want to understand and to agree with other scientists is something very simple. Evolution is not linear. People grow their number on this part and reduce their number on this part. It's a cycle which is inevitable. Some of us in the future will live in the caves, but we will not disappear for sure. I am pretty sure about it. Thank you for watching.